What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you back to more Let's Play Destiny. In the last episode, we entered the Deepstone Crypt, defeated the Crypt security, and took down Atrax, the last member of Aramis's council. But we still have one more Fallen to put a stop to. As we learned in the last episode, the weapon that was being resurrected in here is none other than Tanix, and he is back with a vengeance. In fact, he's so pissed off, he wants to destroy all of Europa, and in this next encounter, we are going to stop him. You see, he has packed this entire space station with a whole bunch of nukes and intends to crash it into the planet. Well, sorry, moon, excuse me. Let's be technical here. And essentially blow the entire thing up. The force of the space station combined with all of the nuclear explosives, yeah, it's not going to be a great time. So we need to put a stop to him and make this go down as gently as possible, essentially just getting rid of all of the nukes. And to do that, we are going to need all three augments this time. So we have a third one that is new in this encounter known as Suppressor. And Suppressor is basically just the augment that keeps the boss from doing the thing that ends up wiping the entire encounter, while Operator and Scanner are more or less the same thing as before. So this time, we are going to be grabbing all sorts of nukes that are going to be spawning throughout the encounter, and we're going to be dunking them in these boxes that are supposed to disable them. You can see with my Scanner augment, I can see right now which boxes these are. So I'm going to be calling these out to my teammates who are carrying the nukes. The nukes are very, very irradiated, and the longer somebody holds on to them, the faster this radiation builds up, and once it builds up all the way, it will, at times 10 stacks, kill them. I'm going to pick up one right now and dunk it just to show. So see how radiation is already up to times 3? So it counts up very fast, but it counts down very slowly. This is to prevent the same people from running nukes at all times. So you're going to have to be on your toes, calling out when nukes are ready, and people who have not been carrying nukes recently are going to be the ones to carry them next. Does that make sense? Now, generally, if you're fast enough about it, you shouldn't really have to worry too much, but if you're slow and you get too many radiation stacks, you're going to be taken out of action for a while. On top of all of this, as everybody has these augments that they're using to do the encounter, every time a set of nukes is dunked, an augment is randomly deactivated, and that means you have to pass it off to a new person so that they can, so that somebody else can pick it up, and then you are basically prevented from doing anything else. So the suppressor, once they have stopped the boss, will allow me to actually dunk that. That's why it said it was offline for a second there. The operator's entire job is making sure that the nukes spawn in favorable positions. So the nukes can spawn either on the 2 spots inside the room or on the 2 spots outside of the room. And to mitigate the damage so that your nukes don't both spawn as far away as possible, you want to deactivate one of the potential outside spots where the nukes can spawn. So usually they'll just shoot one at random, either left or right side. I think my team always likes to shoot the left side one and deactivate that one, just because that's the furthest place to furthest distance to run to the boxes of any of the nuclear spawns. But that's the operator's job. They'll shoot one, and then if you're lucky, you'll get both of the inside spots as the nuke spawns. You can see we did not get it on this one. Actually, it looks like we shoot the right side this time, so we had to run all the way to the left. And this is where you're going to need to be careful. So I'm actually babysitting this person right now so that when they get to a high stack, I can take the core from them and take it the rest of the way before the radiation kills them. Does that make sense? So this is all you're doing. You're fighting off enemies, you're constantly depositing nuclear cores, and you're making sure that this space station doesn't end up colliding with the planet to do a gigantic explosion that wipes everything on it. I also just lost my augment there, so I will no longer be Scanner. I am now just basically at the whims of whoever else, unless I'm able to pick up another augment a little bit later on. This is just constant mayhem, constant motion. Everybody has a job. And yes, as I have said many times before, I love encounters like these. This is my favorite encounter in Deepstone Crypt and always has been. It's just hectic. It's mayhem. The entire space station is descending to the ground, and oh my goodness, if we don't get there in time, we're all going to explode, and it's such a cool encounter. You're all doing things. Honestly, the most boring part of this is Suppressor, and actually that right there tells me that I dunked it in the wrong box. So the way that my team does it is we say left 1 and left 2, or right 1 and right 2 for our boxes. 1 is always the one closest to the entrance, and 2 is the one furthest. I do believe right there was a mismatch in the 1 or 2 call out, not the side call out, so that's probably how that happened. I was probably told 2 and dunked it, or told 1, excuse me, dunked it in 1, but it was actually 2. Does that make sense? You're just constantly calling out to people. Suppressor has the most boring job because they're just jumping to 3 different spots in the room and then shooting the boss 1 time in each of those. And I mean, honestly, operators isn't all that exciting either, because they're just, the second they're able to, they're just shooting a panel, and that's pretty much it. But aside from that, the actual activity, the constant killing of enemies, and the fact that things are just always going on is what makes this encounter so freaking exciting. It's not actually the use of the augment. So as soon as Suppressor gets the boss, I am going to be able to deposit that nuclear core. You can see from the fire as we descend into the atmosphere of Europa, that is telling us we're getting pretty close to the end here. I do want to say we might have one more go, but I think we might actually be done here. Let's see. Okay, no, we do have one more go. So I'm going to now take the operator fragment, and I'm going to show how this one works at the very least. I won't get to show Suppressor. So I guess we had all decided that it was going to be the right side this time. Don't exactly know why that is. So you can only shoot it once, but once you've done that, you've deactivated it. We got lucky and had both of our nuclear cores spawn in the closest spots this time. So now we just got to dunk them. And it's both of the ones on the right side. I think I took it because they were like at ×9. So quickly drop that in, and that should be pretty much the end of the entire encounter. Descent protocol deactivated. But yep, we're still going to land, so we still don't want to be in here when the thing hits. Otherwise, that's going to hurt really badly.
Upon collision, the crypt will be torn open, and all defenses will be destroyed. It is now open to all, allies and enemies alike. If you do not defend it, the results will be worldly. Humanity's fate is now on you. Best of luck.
For all of his arrogance, he isn't wrong. Yes, this place is entirely torn open, and the technology inside is not completely destroyed, so we need to do something to put a stop to it. Well, yes, we are about to crash into the moon. It's not over yet. There is still one more thing that remains taken care of. So, as we hit, ow, first of all. It's okay, we're all okay. This is actually where you get your loot at the end of that encounter, and also it does, I do believe one of my fire team members got kicked right there, which sucks, which means they don't get loot for that encounter. That's highly, highly unfortunate. In fact, if I remember correctly, part of the parts I cut out was actually an earlier... So you guys got to see the complete Atrax attempt. I do believe we actually had already run it once before that, but somebody got DC'd in the middle of the encounter right as we finished it, and so we ran it again just so that they could get their loot. It might have been on that run. It might have been a different run. I know. All I know is it was something that I edited out, but it happens. It sucks, but that's why... It's the only one of the big problems with online-only games, of course, is that eventually people can, miss out just because their internet connection isn't behaving properly. But yes, the crypt is now on the ground. This is what remains of it. It's all over the place, strewn all across Europa, and we need to seal this place up. But the biggest threat right now is, of course, Tannix himself. He is the one foe that's going to be able to make the most use of everything here in the crypt, so we got to put a stop to him. And just in case you weren't sure about what he's able to do, look what Tannix has become once I actually am able to turn around here. Which I think actually, I don't even know if I do right now. I think it's probably because I'm just so focused on my job, but we'll get to see him in a second. Tannix is this gigantic abomination that has grafted his entire body onto what is essentially a giant shank. And he is going to be moving all around the arena, doing everything he can to blow us up and eventually make his way into the crypt to get the rest of its technology. All three augments are once again active in here. You have a suppressor augment, although that one isn't 100% necessary if you do this the right way, and then you have an operator and a scanner augment. The operator augment is going to be for freeing people who are carrying nuclear cores, while the scanner fragment is going to tell them where they're supposed to go. What we need to do is, as soon as Tannix is activated, we need to shoot off all 4 nuclear cores without being vaporized by his purple beams of light. Once they have all been grabbed, everybody is going to pick up the nuclear cores and make a run for it, while Operator has to free them from the bubbles. 2 bubbles will spawn throughout this entire encounter, so I am now looking for the last person to get trapped, and then I just got to shoot them free as they run to deposit the cores. Now, this is technically not the way that this is supposed to be done, but it is actually the easier way. The way this is technically supposed to be done is you're only supposed to do 2 nukes at a time, but if you do that, you gotta suppress Tannix, and we, as a team, decide it's just better to bypass that and do all 4 nuclear cores at once, and the operator just has to make sure they do their darn job. Once all 4 nuclear cores have been deposited, damage begins, but damage with Tannix is not such an easy thing. He's not going to just let you just shoot at him willy-nilly like a lot of other bosses do. He creates essentially a safe field and a danger field. On the outside of this perimeter is a bunch of debris flying around that can knock you out and sometimes kill you if you're not careful. So, and you can also shoot your teammate in the back of the head with a rocket. That works too. So what you're going to need to be doing is constantly shooting rockets at him, but eventually he is going to knock you out of the damage field, which means you're going to have to jump back in. And I literally mean jump back in. You can't just walk in or you're going to get sent flying again. So you need to be able to jump over the debris wall, but again, don't get too close or you're going to get damaged by being right underneath him. Once enough damage is done, we are going to get one more shot at this, so we're going to hop right back on in and keep doing damage. We are using the Gallarhorn rocket strat here. But again, much like with the Atrax encounter, I do believe I included an attempt where we do not do enough damage to kill him on the first go around, which, like I said, is not very good. It is pathetic, but that is a good demonstration of how this all works once again. So, you jump back into it, and we continue. Now, the part I didn't really mention is that Taniks is always going to gravitate towards a specific section of the room. We're technically in 3 groups of 2. We kind of call this the entrance side, the light side, and the dark side is how we really call it. And the entrance side is generally where I'm at. This is where the operator fragment is always going to spawn. Scanner fragment is usually over by the light side, and then suppressor, or sorry, the dark side, and suppressor is over by the light side. Once he starts floating over to a location is when you need to get into position. He starts moving from the center of the arena, and once he gets on top of that spot, that's when his nukes are going to spawn in. Now, the nukes, where you have to dunk these nukes, you never have to dunk them on top of the spot that he's on. So obviously you're going to be going to the other locations. We generally have it coordinated that everybody is always going to be going in the direction opposite of where their spawn is. So like the dark team, which is where he went to, they are always going to be going what I would call clockwise from their initial location. Now, because of the nuclear core radiation count up, this is why I'm usually following somebody who has very high stacks so that I can dunk it. This is actually a great example of where I can kind of save the run because both of us died. I think they were able to, I think he dunked it immediately and then gets the revive, but you can also just run over and quickly pick it up in time and still be fine. As long as all 4 get dunked before their counters count down, you should still be fine. But this is why doing all 4 is the best, because then you're not having to worry so much about suppressing him. You're not having to worry so much about following him to another side. Just shoot off all 4 every single time. It's so much easier that way, even though it is technically not the intended way. So there's me almost dying to the wall again. And now, as we get him to final stand, we're all going to want to prepare our rockets. This is why I led with the sniper. And now he's going to just kind of float all over the arena, and we're going to want to do all the damage we can, but that single golden gun kind of did more than enough to take care of him. And there we go. Taniks the Abomination has been defeated. The Deepstone Crypt is now safe, and we have beaten ourselves yet another raid. Guys, thank you all so very much for watching this episode of Let's Play Destiny. I hope you all enjoyed it very, very much, and before we call this an episode, I've got one last cutscene for y'all to watch. See you all in the next one.
Sooner or later, we must all face the consequences of our struggle for power. For Aramis, the Deepstone Crypt provided another grasp at darkness. But firm it was not. Their loss is our gain. For the deepest secrets of Europa are now within our grasp.